Well, hey everybody, Dan Drake here, and welcome to Why It's Great Live. And I'm calling this week Stephen King Week. On Monday, we talked about why the book It is great, and today we're going to be talking about the TV show Mr. Mercedes, as well as the record of the week. So please stick around. So like I said, I'm calling this Stephen King Week, and that is because Stephen King has a lot of projects coming out this week and next week. And so in honor of that, I wanted to talk about him. He's also my favorite author of all time. On Friday, I'll be releasing a video essay, a full-fledged video essay on why Stephen King is great. You're going to want to check that out. But also on Friday, It Chapter 2, the second movie that is made from the It book, is released in theaters, and I'm very excited about seeing that. Also, next week, on Tuesday, Stephen King has a new book coming out called The Institute, which I could not be more excited to get my hands on and read. And also Tuesday next week, Season 3 of the Mr. Mercedes TV show airs for the first time. And so I wanted to talk about Mr. Mercedes, the TV show, and why I think that it's great. And I have three main reasons why I really enjoy the TV show. And the first is that it is a faithful adaptation of the book. So for those of you who are unaware, Mr. Mercedes is a show that's on the Audience Network, which I think is owned by DirecTV. And the show allows for 8 to 10 episodes. I can't remember exactly how many in the first season, but there's 8 to 10 episodes, which allows the writers to really dole out the story the same way that it does in a novel. So I have the book right here. And this novel by Stephen King is actually his first foray into the mystery genre. One of the things I love about Stephen King is that I like to say he writes in every genre. Now, obviously, he's known for horror, but he also writes in drama. He wrote The Shawshank Redemption and Green Mile. A lot of people aren't aware of that. He's written in sci-fi and time travel with 11/22/63. He's written in nonfiction. He has a book called On Writing, and he has a book that he co-authored about the Red Sox, which he's a huge fan of the Red Sox. He also writes in fantasy. He has a book called The Eyes of the Dragon and a 7 or an 8 book series called The Dark Tower. That's fantasy. And so this then is his contribution in the mystery genre. And it's paced and plotted a little bit like a James Patterson novel. But basically, the story of Mr. Mercedes is that there was a guy who does a completely heinous crime using a stolen Mercedes car. He gets the name Mr. Mercedes. And Bill Hodges, the main character, is commissioned as a detective to find this killer. But years go by. The case goes cold. They're not able to find him. And one day, Bill finds himself ready to retire. So he retires. And in retirement, he's haunted by the fact that he could never catch Mr. Mercedes. Then, at the same time, this killer, Mr. Mercedes, begins contacting him online, begins stalking him, begins sending him mail, begins taunting him. And Bill Hodges cannot stand it. He's thrown out of retirement and takes it upon himself to go find the Mercedes killer. It is a really, really fascinating and compelling read. And the show, like I said, is a faithful adaptation of that novel. It's able to dole out the mysteries slowly over time, and I think they do just an amazing job conveying the plot. There's really not a whole lot of extra stuff or stuff they kept out. Each season has been able to cover the ground of a book. So what I didn't mention is that Mr. Mercedes is the first of 3 novels featuring Bill Hodges. And so they're about to do the 3rd season, which I think will cover the 3rd book, and I'm really, really excited about it. All right, so the second thing I really like is the actors that are portraying these characters. Super, famously is Brendan Gleeson, who's an amazing actor who was Mad-Eye Moody in the Harry Potter series. He plays Detective Bill Hodges, and I think he plays him to perfection. Just absolutely awesome. Then there's another actor who I have to look up, Harry Treadaway, and he plays Mr. Mercedes. Now, one of the things I like about the show is that they actually show you Mr. Mercedes and who it is right at the beginning and gives you a glimpse, because that's kind of how the book is. So a lot of the intrigue is not on who is it going to be. It's not one of those mysteries. It's actually more you get to see both perspectives, and you get to see Mr. Mercedes taunting Bill Hodges and then Bill Hodges trying to find him. And it's kind of a cat and mouse thing, and it's extremely fun to watch. I also need to point out Justine Lupe, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but she plays a character named Holly Gibney. And Holly Gibney is actually my favorite character of the series, and many, many people who are Stephen King fans, I'm part of a forum, a Facebook group of Stephen King fans, and most of them talk about how great Holly Gibney is. And I think Holly Gibney might be both his most popular and just best female character that Stephen King has ever written. He knows that she's super popular with his fans also because she's not only in all three of the Mr. Mercedes series of books, she's also comes into play in his book, The Outsider, which is really interesting how she comes into play there. And after The Institute, he's actually writing a standalone Holly Gibney book. And she is just super innocent, full of goodness, and helps Bill Hodges along the way to finding the Mr. Mercedes killer. And this actress I mentioned, does a fantastic job. I can't think of anyone that could better convey just her essence in the novels. Just comes across on screen super well. The last thing that I'll mention about why I love Mr. Mercedes is it doesn't pull any punches. So this is actually not a show for the faint of heart. Again, the crime he commits is really heinous, and they basically show it in the show. And he also has a very awful relationship with his mother, and the show, doesn't pull punches, like I said. And here's the reason I like that, and Stephen King in general, is because Stephen King shows things that are dark. He goes all the way. Life doesn't pull punches, and neither does Stephen King, and neither does the show. But what's redemptive about that and why it's great is not just to fill your mind with trash or a bunch of garbage or awful things. No, the stories then allow the light to shine through. They say it's always darkest right before the dawn, and I really believe that the darker black you put in a painting really makes the highlights and the lights shine even brighter. So yes, the show goes dark. It goes just as dark as the novel, but it's so that the glimmers of light that shine through can shine all the more brightly. So again, if you like Stephen King, if you're not afraid of enduring some of that darkness so that you can see the light, I would fully recommend the show and the book, Mr. Mercedes. I'll put links to all the stuff that I've been talking about, all the new things that Stephen King has coming out. You can find those in the description. But now I want to go to the record of the week, and I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. This is going to be a little bit of a weak connection, but the band I'm going to highlight today, I recently have just rediscovered and been listening to a lot, is Incubus. And so though the band has nothing nefarious about them or evil or dark, an incubus is the kind of a ghost ghoul thing that could be in a Stephen King novel. Again, that's a loose connection. Not that there needs to be one anyway. But I want to talk about Incubus, and I want to talk about their album, If Not Now, When? It looks like this. So this is, not Incubus's first album. It's not their second, not their third. I don't know what number this is. I think it's 7, maybe, their 7th album. But I think this is Incubus at their best. Now, they got famous with Drive and 11 a.m. and some other songs like that, and those are great. I really love all of their albums. But I think there's something special about this one, If Not Now, When? It's a little bit more mellow, but I think the genius of Brendan Boyd's melodies really shines through on this. It has some great grooves, and there's some fast stuff on there as well. But for the most part, it's mellow, and the melodies and harmonies really shine through. I gotta really encourage you to check out this album, If Not Now, When. Even if you're not a fan of the Incubus's other stuff, even if you're not a fan of like early 2000s rock, I think you'll find something to like on this. And the other thing I need to point out is I've created a playlist on Spotify called Why Incubus is Great, and you can find my favorite songs from their whole career on this playlist. I also have other playlists that you can check out. Why Springsteen is Great from an earlier video. I've got Why Pete Yorn is Great from an earlier video. And then I've also got Why Seal is Great. So check out those playlists. I'll put a link in Spotify for those. And check out If Not Now, When by Incubus. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like our page if you like our videos. Subscribe on YouTube, which would be fantastic. But really, just drop me a comment. I would love to hear from you and to connect with you more than we have up to this point. So I'd love to hear from you. Love to see you subscribe and support us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.